Hello, I'm Wendy. Welcome to Love, Loss, and Lipstick. I'm going to get ready for work, put my makeup on, and tell you a little piece of my story. Okay. Last week I left off that I had gone to my cousin's son's first birthday party. And Steve was there, and I was very embarrassed that he was there and my family was there. And we had only gone on one date. And I knew that he wasn't my type and that I really wasn't interested. But we kept talking on the phone. He lived an hour drive away. We didn't really see each other. But we did start talking on the phone every night. And that was really great because we were able to get to know each other just with no strings attached. So I learned that his parents were both from England and they met and got married in Canada, the Toronto area. And that's where Steve was born. And about 1968, he was 7. His family moved from Canada to the United States. His dad worked in television. He was a director. And he got the opportunity to direct the Johnny Cash show, which was just getting started in Nashville at the Ryman Auditorium. So they moved from Canada to Nashville, Tennessee. And I've often wondered how he got that job. And Steve may have told me at some point, and I don't know why, I don't remember. He worked with Alan Thicke in Canada. And so I wouldn't be surprised if maybe there was a connection somehow that way. But I can't really say for sure, but they moved to Nashville, and Steve said that he really had a hard time fitting in. I mean, he was from Canada. It wasn't like he was really from a foreign country, but the kids teased him and made fun of the way he dressed. And he was a hockey player, and hockey, wasn't really a Southern thing. So he didn't play any other sports, but there was still even segregation, or desegregation. He told me about being bused to school that wasn't really close by, or the neighborhood school. So it was a really interesting time here in the South for somebody who came from the North. Johnny became a friend, and his kids, they lived in Hendersonville, and so Steve's parents ended up getting an apartment. They lived in like the Madison area, not too far from here, not too far from Hendersonville. The show only ran for, it was like 68 to 71, maybe 72. And it seemed to be doing really well. I don't know why it was canceled, is really what happened. And I did find that out actually not too long ago, because I wondered why he left the show. I have a letter in some of his dad's belongings, a letter handwritten from Johnny Cash, apologizing for the way things went down. And so it made me question, like, wow, what went down? But I ended up finding out that the show ended. So it wasn't anything that he did wrong or anything. It just ran its course. So they moved to California. And his parents, I guess the marriage wasn't great at this point. Steve said that the atmosphere, you know, in the house wasn't good. He wasn't happy. And so when he was 14, he actually left home and he went and lived in a friend's garage, which sounds crazy, but he did. And he worked at night. In fact, when I wrote my story and I told this part of it, a Facebook friend who I'm friends with, who was good friends with Steve growing up, she told me, yes, you know, she remembered this whole part, but when he was living in this friend's garage, he got a job driving a parking lot sweeper. And so this friend of mine, I guess her dad owned the business. He's the one that gave Steve the job. He didn't even have a driver's license, but he would go to school during the day, and then he would go play hockey. And then at night, he would drive the parking lot sweeper and then get some sleep and do it all again. So I'm not sure how long he actually did that before he got really sick. And his mom really wanted him to come home. And he did, at least for a little while. His parents ended up separating. They didn't get divorced, but he said they were, although I think they still lived together, it wasn't really like a marriage anymore at this point. So when Steve graduated high school, which was in '79, he and his dad moved back to Nashville to do some work, or at least to create a new life, I guess. But Steve had been working with his dad, and it looked like he was going to follow in his footsteps and work in the entertainment business, which really upset his mom. She did not want him working in entertainment. She saw what it did to her husband. It's a hard life. It's just can be really volatile. I mean, you could be working and then you're not working, traveling, the hours, the lifestyle. And from what I understand, his dad maybe wasn't the epitome of good health. But they moved to Nashville. It was during the summer of '79. They lived here for a couple of years, working. And when, let's see, it was March of '81, his dad ended up having a heart attack on the set of a show, and he died. And Steve told me about that. And when he did, I didn't really even process, because when he told me, I was young too. Young adult, but still, I didn't realize, I didn't process the effect that, I mean, just how traumatic. And it was Steve who was responsible to take care of everything, to make the arrangements, to go through all of his dad's stuff and everything you have to do. He was doing by himself. And he ended up moving back to California. So that was in '81. He continued, you know, trying to work in the music industry and do it on his own. But, you know, it's hard to get into, although he did have, oh, I think somebody's coming in. Nope, give me a minute. My son's home visiting. So anyways, he was just trying to find his way on his own. And at this point, he and his mom didn't really have much of a relationship at all. She was angry. She was angry that he went to Nashville, that he was working in the entertainment and whatever. So they didn't have much of a relationship. So it was in 1986, 85 when I first met Steve. And I mentioned this in my last episode that my cousins introduced us to each other. But I didn't realize they were introducing us, like maybe I might be interested because I wasn't. But it was 86 when we actually started dating. So in all of these long phone conversations, I learned about his upbringing, and I learned that he was working doing music videos. In the mid-'80s, they were still, just really getting popular. And he and his now best friend, partner, had good success. They did John Waite's Missing You music video. And so that was shortly before we met. So he was still kind of riding that high. And I was very impressed. I loved the song. I had seen the video and I thought, wow, okay, that's super cool. He also did Billy Idol, Hot in the City, which he said was really just kind of a shit show, trying to work with Billy Idol. But he had some really good stories, and he had a lot of life experiences, which I did not. I grew up in my parents' house, didn't really go away to college, went to cosmetology school, lived with my mom. My dad died when I was young. I was 12. And so it was just basically me and my mom. And I didn't have any of the experiences that he did. I hadn't lived out on my own. I hadn't traveled like that. And but I did have a job working in a hair salon and starting my career when we met. But anyway, so I am finishing up here. If you have any questions about anything that you see me use, or if you have skincare challenges or questions, I don't know, on YouTube, I think you can comment. You can find me on Facebook or Instagram. Send me a message, leave me a comment. This is all new for me. And this is my first time doing this for YouTube, my new YouTube channel. So we'll see how that goes. Next week, we'll get more into how the relationship started. But I just wanted to give you a little backstory about where we came from, where he came from. So I will see you next week.